Alright. Hello? Hello? Are we on? Okay, so, hello. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this panel where I'm basically going to be nerding out about Endwalker's soundtrack, which is honestly so far definitely one of my favorite soundtracks. Like I've honestly loved this expansion to bits. Like just the entire story, just like everything about it, just like was honestly so good, so good. I really couldn't get enough of it. Like even like after like even like after finishing the story, right? I was just like going back. I was just like going back, and I was just like listening to the soundtrack like over and over again. And you know, you ever think to yourself like, and I always thought to myself like, what makes it sound so good? Like why do I always find myself like, going back and listening to it like as often as I do, right? And that's pretty much what this panel is going to be about. Um, it's mostly going to be about Endwalker's soundtrack specifically, and I'm going to be talking about like what I'm going to be talking about. Oh, and I should mention there are spoilers. There are of course like pretty major story spoilers. So if you don't mind being spoiled on a few pretty big things, then you can stick around. But if you'd rather not get spoiled, then well, maybe you can rewatch the VOD once you finish the story. I don't know. Oh, oh. In any case, let's begin. So, who am I? Why should you care? Um, so I've been a musician for about, let's say, around like 3 years now, something like that. I started in 2019. Is around when I started making. Is around like when I started making like Final Fantasy covers and all that. The main reason that I decided to even take up music in the first place was actually because of Final Fantasy XIV's music. There was just like, uh, and if any of you watched my panel last year, then you'll know that just a lot about Soken's process and just a lot about just how everything is like composed and just how everything is like interconnected to form a story, right? I talked last year about how like all that inspired me to take up music myself and learn how to do learn how to do all of that basically. And yeah, basically like analyzing Soken's work did teach me a lot about just composition and design and sound design while I'm at it. And with how many FF covers I do on YouTube and just how I talk to my friends in general about this game, like you can tell that I really really like this game a lot, and especially this game's soundtrack. Like I think it's honestly phenomenal. It's among the best. So, what are we going to be talking about in this panel? So how I'm structuring this is I'm going to be talking about a few tracks that I personally really really like, and why I think they're great, and why I really like them. And what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to go through what each of these tracks do, both in terms of, well, mostly in terms of instrumentation and how, and what they try to achieve with said instrumentation, how it's achieved. And I'm also going to be talking about like connections between different tracks, and what connections those tracks might have to the story, there's a bunch there to talk about. And and actually, there is actually some stuff about the production process too later on, um, if if we do have enough time to get around to that. So, um, so yeah, basically as I said, why exactly am I talking about this? So, as I mentioned earlier, Soken and the entire sound team basically did a fantastic job with the expansion with this expansion with the music. Um, because the way I think about it, right, the soundtrack has basically two themes that it likes to switch between. There's like how do I say it? It's like you know, a bunch of like despair and desperation, right? You're trying to like stop the final days, trying to save as many people as you possibly can. And there's also, hope on the other spectrum. Hope and determination in, moving forward, uh, marching forward, no matter what, just basically just going at it. And these two messages of desperation and hope and determination are very much achieved through primarily through music, which does a fantastic job of making the player feel both the tension and the hope during critical moments, right? And as Prosoken's usual style, it's gonna be heavy usage of leitmotifs, heavy usage of common themes in Endwalker's OST, which I will end up talking about. And certain tracks also connect to others in a very narratively impactful way, if little details are noticed. So, if I can get around to those, I will be talking about those as well. So, without delaying any longer, the first track that I will talk about, well, today's theme, which is Desperation, the first track I will be talking about is Garland Express, which is the Tower of Babel dungeon theme. And this track, I think, is a very good example of what I was talking about earlier, desperation and urgency, right? This track, I feel, is a prime example of that, mostly through the instrumentation it uses, mostly through its composition, and just how it's arranged overall. And how is it done? Well, we are going to have a brief listen, just so I can sort of get my point across. And if I can just very briefly switch over to my video, where is it? Let's see here. Alright, we good? We good. Okay. You just switch over. And please do let me know if the audio levels are, a little bit messed up or not. All right, so now I'll pause here for a minute, just so I can begin talking about what exactly is going on here. So, just what kind of is going on here? So, yeah, as I said before, it's mostly achieved through instrumentation here, right? So, Garlemald is so just so a little bit of background, a little bit of a refresher. So, we're trying to we're trying to stop Anima from just so we just got to Garlemald. We see it's just destroyed, it's desolated, it's basically a shell of what it used to be. And we're over here trying to stop this, trying to stop Anima, trying to stop that big old monster from, just messing things up even further. So, right away, so because Garlemald is modern, it's got Magitech and all that. We use more modern instruments here, right? And so specifically, it's kind of like over here, right? It's like that really like rapid I don't know if I want to say, you know, cyberpunk, but just like that cyberpunkish kind of bass, you know, like that kind of vibe to it. It's like very rapid, very, you know, tense. It's like plucky, you know, goes fast, and it just serves to, you know, just sort of amplify that, you know, that how do I say it? Like that desperation, that urgency, right? Just for how fast like that bass line is going, and along with the percussion, which unlike a lot of other unlike a lot of other tracks in the OST, where, you know, it uses I guess more realistic percussion. More electric drums are used here, right? Just to sort of drive further that point that, you know, Garland is modern, right? So you have to use like some more modern instruments, and also like those, like, and also like right over here, like these plucky synths here, right? Like you can hear the tension in the melody. You can hear how it's basically like a race against time to, you know, basically stop this thing from just messing things up even further. And even like here, right over here, like these strings in the background, like you hear how they're like slowly rising, right? You know, building up that tension. And then we move on to like we gotta go. Like, this is urgent. We gotta like get this done like right now. You can't see my screen? Oh, whoops. There we go. Oh, thanks for pointing that out. Oh, man. Alright, anyway. Yeah, as I was saying. You know, like, this very, like, you know, like, melancholy, like, tragic piano melody playing here, right? Along with, like, that really, like, this real, like, tragic, like, strings and choir playing in the background. Like, it just kind of drives the point home that basically, like things are like super, things are like super messed up right now, and you know, things have already happened. Like, the worst has sort of already come to pass. Right now, we're just trying to fix what we can, and we're just trying to prevent it from becoming worse. And that's basically like, you know, I guess like the overall message that this track is trying to send. It's basically like a sense of like, we've done what we can. We're just trying to stop things from getting worse at this point. And again, like those like synth little plucks in the background that you hear, it's like these like that very like futuristic like a very futuristic like tech kind of feeling. And combined with the, you know, more traditional instruments like the piano, like the piano and the strings, it helps keep it within the Final Fantasy setting. So, you know, even though we have like a super modern like city, super modern like, you know, tech focused city, we still have traditional instruments that, you know, tie it all back to, you know, still keep it grounded within the setting. And I was supposed to just listen then to imagine. No, that was just a mistake on my part. I just forgot to switch scenes. But yeah. Yeah, basically, as I said, yeah, through instrumentation, as I said before, like the rapid pluck bass and the rapid synth and the rapid pluck synths just help evoke that sense of urgency, as I mentioned earlier. And also, when it comes to this song narratively, this also is a remix of the actual Garlemald field theme, which we will take a very quick listen to, just so you can get an idea that it's, you know, it's still the same melody. If we can just switch over. Now we'll skip ahead to over here. Like, even just here with the strings, you can already like hear just how desolate and just like it just gives it like a sense of defeat, right? Everything is destroyed. Like, look at that. And here, like, listen, like if you listen to closer to the melody here, right? Like the piano melody here is the exact same. Like just quick comparison. Uh, there's the piano, and if I can just find the thing here. So yeah, exact same. And I think narratively what that does is, you know, uh, basically Garlemald has been built up like from 2.0. It's been built up as like, like the main nation that we're going to be fighting against, right? It's like, oh, we're all gearing up. We're all going to like, we're going to put a stop to like, Garlemald's like expansion plans like once for all. Like it's been sort of like building up. It's been sort of like building up to that, right? And when we finally do get there, when we finally do get to Garlemald, like we see that it's already been destroyed. Like there is really like nothing to fight. There is nothing to fight against there. And because the entire world is at risk here, right? We're trying to save we're trying to save them as much as we're trying to save us. Because at this point it's like the entire world is at risk. So I think what this does, right? What this does is the field theme is, desolate and like desolate and depressing, right? It serves to like set the tone for, basically it's like a city that, once was at this point. It's a shell of like it's basically a shell of its former self, right? And so while this one serves to show, how far Garlemald has fallen and just, how, you know, such devastation was wreaked upon it, right? uh the Tower of Babel theme that helps symbolize using the main melody, using the same melody as the Garlemald theme. It helps. I think it helps symbolize how we're also fighting, for the people of Garlemald, whether they want our help or not, whether they want our help or not, we're still fighting for them because like everything and everyone is at stake here. So, and this tone shift, this tone shift, despite using the same melody, right? Despite using the same melody, I think is a pretty good demonstration of how just shifting the tone a little bit can help evoke like pretty drastically different moods and messages around. And I think especially common among dungeon themes, urgency is a and desperation is a very common theme, right? Because it's less about as it was in like previous expansions like Shadowbringers, like Stormbolt, like Heavensward, right? This one is less about being the hero and saving the day and just like rescuing everybody, right? This is just like basically this is like almost pretty much beyond you. Like it's a race to save as it's basically like a race to just save as many people as possible. Like at this point in time, you can't prevent it. You're just trying to save as many people as you can and just like prevent as much damage as you possibly can from being done. Because of the final days. And this sense of urgency is also shown in themes such as, and excuse my pronunciation if I get it wrong, but Ktisis Hyperborea, which is the dungeon theme that we hear in Elpis. And something very similar is also going on here, which is basically a remix of Elpas's field yeah, I can't speak field theme, and it kind of does the same thing that Garland Express did, right? It takes the field theme and it amplifies that sense of urgency, like once again through the instrumentation. And we're gonna take a very brief listen to both of them, just so we can compare. So I'm gonna stop it there just so we have enough time to look at the other one as well. Just to show you that, just to show you that it's basically the same melody. Yes, here, like the piano, exactly the same. A little quiet? Oh, I can turn it up. So yeah, even there, same melody. Okay, so also just as like a very quick side note, like if you guys have like, any of your own observations or just, just want to point out like something like audio levels, like absolutely please do feel free to point them out. And I will try to, and any observations, like I will try to address them as well. Just so we can like all have a look. But yeah, so what can we gather from this? So just kind of like, as you can see, the Elpus's field theme, right? It's more, how do I like, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's more mystical, right? Because I mean, this basically is like, because I mean, for the ancients, right? But yeah, ethereal, yeah, ethereal is a good word for it, Fennis. Uh, because I mean, because I mean, this is like pretty ethereal in its own way, right? Uh, in a way, like this was like pretty much like the playground of the ancients, right? Here they could like basically like do whatever they wanted without fear of, like, well, from what we can assume at least, right? Without fear of like, conflict or like war or like disease or like any of that. Basically to them, this was like must have been like basically paradise. And I think the field theme very much reflects that, and just, just how ethereal and how peaceful it is, right? Like, the very gentle, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? The very gentle, like, pizzicato strings, right? They're like all plucky, like dun 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 dun, like that. Like it's just all like very gentle sounding. And it's also got like little bells in the background, just for like just to amplify like that sort of like gentle sound, right? And for the melody, we have like just like very slow, just very very gentle woodwinds. Just like very very slow and very slow strings here. With chords that emit a feeling of like almost kind of like a tranquility, right? Like the chords here are designed more to evoke a sense of tranquility while you're here exploring this place. Oh, okay, that was weird. Let's see here. Changing the tempo of the melody does so much to change the mood of the song. I love how the field is super peaceful and calming because at this point, everything is perfect to them. And then when you get to Katisis, it's pretty much become we need to get to Hermes now. Like yeah, exactly. Like those 2 points. Like I actually literally was about to make like the same 2 points, right? Because yeah, it's basically like like heaven on earth. You could do like whatever you wanted. It was super peaceful. Everyone was having like a nice fun time. And then what happens here is, Hermes, a candidate for like the big old council of this place of all this basically. He sends out Meteon, like his creation or whatever, to basically like find the meaning of life, see if there's more to it than just like living, just just like living in, I guess just like sitting there, right? Just see if there's any more meaning. And then when Meteon comes back with the answer of like, oh, everything ends eventually, we're all gonna die, everything's gonna like end in despair. And then suddenly we realize like, wait a minute, this isn't what was supposed to happen. Like something is about to go like very wrong because of this revelation. And so we're trying to like confiscate it. We're trying to like basically, I guess confiscate it. So she doesn't do like, any more damage to, I guess, the status quo than's necessary. Hermes of course doesn't want to give her up. So he retreats over to this place to keep her safe from everyone. But like yeah, but this is serious, right? Something very, very, very bad could happen if we don't retrieve her. If we let her, if we let her, spread, existential despair, like where it doesn't need to be, right? Because at this point, like existential despair basically doesn't exist. So if we let that spread, like something very bad is gonna happen. So, and yeah, as mentioned earlier, this is basically like a stark contrast to the peaceful field theme, right? In this case here, like, the piece has pretty much been broken. We can't go back to like the way things were before. And just like, if I can just turn the volume over here. Like the very like rapid like booming percussion, right? And like the just the way the bass moves around. And it's like how rapid like the melody is, right? Just like the rapid melody, but like really really rapid percussion, like the really rapid like booming percussion. Like it also just starts to like drive that sense of urgency home. Like we need to get to Hermes now. We need to like take care of Meteon now before she she causes like what's possibly irreparable damage to the world, right? So again, just like Garland Express, this is also like a theme of urgency. Like we need to get this done now. We need to prevent any more damage from being done, basically. And just like how the field theme had like its own little background elements alongside the melody to sort of help develop that sense of peace and tranquility, right? This also has its own unique background elements alongside the melody to help evoke that sense of, urgency and desperation. Like, if I can find it here real quick. Like, right over here, right over here. Like, these strings in the background, right, that almost seem like they're screaming, right? The ones that kind of go like... Those ones, right? Like, just having those in the background make everything just that little bit more intense. And just also like these little piano notes you hear in the background, like just like the tension in them, like you can feel it. Syncopated, yeah. Thank you, Maya. Like, syncopated is the word I was looking for. Yeah, thank you so much for that. But yeah, just like all those little elements, just like sort of help come together, and just to showcase that even though it's the same melody, and the same BPM, uh, just those little background elements, just like making the main melody just like that much more faster. It really goes to show like how much uh like how those little tone shifts can like just drastically change the meaning of a song. And just to like actually fun little thing, just to prove that they are in the same BPM, I actually, if I can find it, where is it? There it is. I actually did do like a small little transcription, for funsies, just to show that they are in the same BPM. Um, so as you can see here, right? It's you know, they're both in 160 BPM, and I just put in like a very basic little drums, just to show you, just sort of help keep track of things, right? So we have like the little transcription of the Alpes field theme here. So very slow, and then if you like, you see how like the notes are like just like a little bit longer here, and then wait, hold on. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, yeah, and yeah, basically over here, like the notes are okay. A little bit, okay, a little bit of background. I don't really have a formal music education, so if I don't know like the exact terms, please forgive me, right? But the notes here are a lot shorter, as you can see. And if we play the Katisis version, it's more like. So you see how giving it that sort of like faster like drum beat, because here is just kind of like four on the floor, right? It's kind of in like every measure. You have the bum 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 bum, right? And here we just have like the drums a little bit spaced out, and just spacing everything out a little bit um, helps make it slower, right? Just help evoke like a sense of like peace and tranquility, and just sort of like shortening the notes and having like a faster drum beat, still in the same BPM, because the notes are shorter and the drums are faster. That I think is sort of like what sort of like drives home that sense of urgency, right? And if I can switch it back over here, yeah, as I said before, stark contrast. And whoops. And so we've talked about like the dungeon themes. We've talked about the sense of urgency. We've talked about the desperation and despair, right? What about the other end of this? What about the other end of the spectrum from the soundtrack? What about like like hope and determination, right? I've talked about that. So okay, well I mentioned it, but now I will talk about that. And uh, I think But I think the most prime example, like the most like prime, like raw example of like hope and determination, right, is all of Ultima Thule and Close in the Distance. And why is this? Basically, like, it's the grand finale and the home stretch of the story, right? This is the point where the soundtrack, goes from like despair and desperation. Like, you have no solution. You're just trying to prevent damage from being done. You know, saving as many people as you possibly can from dying, right? To at this point in the story, you have a solution, right? You have a goal. You know where to go. You know how to stop it. Now you just have to, go out and actually stop it, right? So, and because of that, I think I think it's really fitting that this is the point where, the music, the soundtrack, just kind of shifts to the theme of, hope and determination. Just like marching ahead, no matter what, no matter what may come forward. And I just, I just really like I just really like what Sogan and the sound team did with Ultima Thule and Close and Distance, right? Because my favorite part about this is how the soundtrack like dynamically changes. Well, how the location scene dynamically changes as you progress through the story, right? Like as your friends make like more and more sacrifices for you, and as you like go through the area, you see what there is to see. You learn more about like Meteon and her motivations, and why she plans to like spread despair like across the entire universe, right? Why she wants to like just like you know end everything, basically, right? As you come to understand her motivations, like the soundtrack, just like kind of picks up, right? Just like as kind of like how do I say it? As kind of like a reflection of the warrior like you know increasing determination to sort of stop this plan, right? To, stop her, save the universe and stop the final days, stop her from spreading despair across the universe and everything that's happening. And oof, and let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna cry again. Yeah, well, you guys are in for a treat because I'm gonna play like all three versions. So we are gonna be starting out with the first version. Just gonna briefly play that. So this plays like just as you arrive, right? You arrive at what's basically the edge of the universe. You're trying to find your way around. It's all like new, mystical, a very ethereal feel to it. Not too much of a melody here, right? But it's more about like that spacey, ethereal kind of feeling to it. You're still exploring. You're still finding your way around. Because at this point, at this point, you don't really know where to go, right? Like, you're meant to be here to stop her, but you're not sure, like, how to actually get to her and like stop her. So this kind of goes on for a while, right? And so yeah, the first part, very muffled and distorted, gives us that ethereal, spacey kind of feeling. Not really sure where you are, at the edge of the universe. Like, basically, it's just to signify that it's just you, just you, and whoever you happen to bring along with you to help you out. Like, uh, you can't really rely on like last minute reinforcements at this point, really, right? So really, it's just you and your friends. Like that's it. It's up to like you to stop it, basically. And yeah, just meant to like signify how desolate this place is and how far away from everything and everyone you really are at this point in the story. And there is like the little and just like a neat little detail, right? Is like this little like background beeping that you hear. Which almost kind of sounds like, kind of like a ship like sending out a signal like in space, right? At least like that's what I'm getting from it. It's like a lone ship just like floating through outer space, sending out a signal in hopes that like someone is like someone somewhere out there is gonna like reach it and hear it. Okay, and let's see. So yeah, that's the first part summed up. The second part, uh, is the instrumental version, and this is where your friends kind of like your friends basically start making sacrifices for you so that like you, the warrior of light, right, can move along and achieve the ultimate goal of averting the final days and stopping Meteon, stopping like the big bad of the entire story arc, right? We're gradually getting we're gradually getting closer to the end at this point, gradually getting closer to stopping everything. And if I can play the second theme here. So like it's at this point where like already a few of your friends have already just kind of like made sacrifices for the sake of like you being able to move forward be able to physically move forward in this place to like reach inaccessible areas, right? All for the sake of you moving forward and finally reaching the goal. And at this point of the story also, right, you also meet what's their name again, the funny little aliens, I forget their name, the Ia, I think, Ia, however you say it. But yeah, 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 there it is. And so basically you meet like this tiny new civilization, right? Well, what or used to be a civilization, whereas previously you thought like this place was like just empty and had nothing in it, right? You meet like this race of funny little aliens that also had their own civilization, but they're kind of like embracing despair at this point. And forgive me, like I'm forgetting like the exact story beats here that happened because like it's been a while, but uh basically the most of the gist of it, right, is not really understanding like hopes and like dreams all that much, right? uh they're just kind of like embracing this they're just kind of like embracing despair and not despair, but what's the word that I'm thinking of, like finality, right? They're embracing like the fact that all things end, because like the way they see it, there is like nothing else to look forward to. Like, why bother doing anything else when everything is gonna end, right? So that's basically the philosophy that you find out that they have here. And let's see. So Natsuko Ishikawa stated in an interview that she wanted to recreate the surprise of discovering Amarat, but in a different form. Thus, she came up with the idea of the song changing as you progress. Actually, Ben, it's like I know the exact interview you're talking about. I actually was gonna get to that, like if I have time later in the presentation. The pulsating synth bass that comes in on this version, like gradually more and more instruments like start coming in, right? You start getting like a bit of that like sub melody, right? Like in the piano and like the little plucky synths. There's a little like synth bass that plays, which is like still pretty muffled because like, you're not quite there yet, right? You're still moving forward. So yeah, it's only just now like just sort of starting to play. Like you're starting to get an idea of what's gonna happen, where you're meant to go. Like that hope is sort of like starting to set in. Okay. And then finally, final part is the full song, where uh, most of your friends, well, pretty much all of your friends have already made sacrifices. Well, pretty much all of your friends have basically sacrificed themselves for you, for the sake of you finally being able to make it to the goals, to be able to stop the final days from happening. And because of that, because of like all those sacrifices, like this is where the instruments like kick in full force. This is where like they all come in, they all start playing, the vocals kicking in. And this is also where like the footfalls motif kicks in, just to further tie everything in, just to further tie in everything together, and further give it like that, just just that extra, like an extra emotional impact, right? And I will show you later. If you thought like that was sad, right? If you thought that made you cry, like Answers is also very cleverly snuck in there. And I'm gonna show you, like in a second, I'm gonna show you like where it is. Uh if I can get to playing it, give me a second. Where is it? Where I put it? Is this it? This is it. Okay. Just gonna have a brief lesson.
Whispers falling silently drift on the wind, but I hear you our journey. Now a memory fading from sight, but I've seen you unbroken. Promises we made so long ago. You're still here, unspoken. Requiem for a river of tears, flowing, winding toward eternal sea. And yet our hope remains, guiding, lighting the way. No time for morning rises on a land reborn from
See, like here, music over here, the drums start kicking in, percussion kicks in.
sunset. Blood-red skies tranquil after the storm. Blessed shadow turning, wending, always night follows day. The sun will shine again. Walk on, never look back. Through you we live tales of love.
And here's the footballs motif. Just to top everything off, just like that. It feels like 2-4 into 2-2. I'm sitting behind a drum kit right now and trying it. Oh, that's actually a very interesting observation. I actually didn't really think. I actually didn't really think of that. All right. So now that you've all had a little bit of a cry, right? Uh, so what's going on here? Uh, so right. As I said before, all your friends made sacrifices. The path for you is paid forward. All that's left for you is to now, go for it and finally stop her, right? So just like the little like guitar in the background here, right? The little like plugs in the background. Just Jason Charles Miller's vocals, the melody, all those serve to evoke like a bunch of different emotions in you, right? It evokes like that hope, right? Like that hope and determination that a path for you is finally paved forward, right? You finally have a means to, stop the final days. You finally have a means to, save everyone, prevent the universe from getting destroyed, prevent the entire universe from falling to despair, right? You finally have a means to, like, stop all of that. So, this melody, like, evokes a little bit of that hope, right? But, just from, let's see, where is it? The little, like, background plugs, right? The little, like, background plugs that you hear, they sound a little bit more melancholy at the same time, though, right? Don't they? Kind of like the same deal with the guitars here, right? A little bit more melancholy, which, kind of, how do I say it? Evokes a feeling of, like, reminiscing, right? Because, like, at this point, it's just you, just you. It's entirely up to you now to stop her, and, like, you've come, like, this far in your journey. Since this is just you, you finally have time to, like, reminisce about, like, your journey so far, the people you've met along the way, the sacrifices that, have been made along the way. Like, you finally have a chance, like, reflect on all of that. The very, very final leg of your journey. So, combining, like, that hope, like, with that melancholy of, reminiscing, everything that's happened so far, just, like, processing all of that, taking all of that into account, is, I think, why it makes all of us, like, why it made all of us cry as much as it did the first time around. And then, like, when the percussion kicks in, that just makes, like, just everything just that much more impactful, right? Just that much more. And then finishes off with that footballs motif, just for that extra emotional hit, just to symbolize, like, this is it. This is the final leg in your journey. It's all or nothing now. Let's see. Possibly the most exquisite bit of music craft about the entire soundtrack is the recurring rising and falling triplets. The dragging triple at the beginning of closing distance is the culmination of every big emotional beat in the story being accompanied by a rising triplet motif. The most prominent of them is about 40 seconds and spoken without end, but it's in over half of the songs the OST. Oh, that's actually very interesting. I never actually noticed that. Huh. Actually, here. Let me look at that. Let me look at that real quick. Let's see. Spoken without end. Let's take a look real quick. At around 40 seconds, you said. Yeah, see, yeah. Oh, no, I hear it. There it is. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Mariel. No, I hear it. Yeah, like, there it is. It's November, autumn tide, rotten footfalls left behind. Yeah, no, I hear it. Oh yeah, that is such a good motif. Like, that is a very, very emotional motif. No, I totally get it. Go back and explain where Answers is hiding. All right, little bit of patience. I was getting to that because, all right. So, I've talked about is this it? No, oops. Okay, so I've talked about, like, the emotional impact of the story, right? And now I have a little treat for all of you. I'm gonna show you, like, where Answers is hiding because. Uh, here's a fun little fact. A very good friend of mine, she asked me to make a cover of Close in the Distance and Answers that you can hear later on my YouTube if we have time by the end of the panel, right? And while I was working on it, I I actually did find this, if I can get to it. So where is it? Where did I put it? Okay, so here we have the melody from Close and Distance, right? Basically, Close and Distance, right? And over here, alongside it, we have Answers. So, how did we make Close and Distance melody? Well, if we notice a few common notes, let's see. So, this is Close and Distance, right? All right. So, over here we have Answers. Let's shift it down a few semitones. And then let's move. How'd it go? Oopsies. And then let's move this note up a little bit. You know, make it a little bit shorter. Add this in just for kicks. Then we move this up. Move this down. Just like that. Answers very, very cleverly hidden in these four notes right here. Just like that. Soken, the absolute madman, actually went and did it. He found a way to slip answers in there without any of us noticing. The first notes of answer is also the same as Insatiable from Shadowbringers. Yep, that's right. So, Close and Distance and Answer. Share these three notes. The exact same chord progression. Yep. That's basically what they share. So you see, it's those little background details. You know, they're so hard to know. They're sometimes so hard to notice, right? But when you do notice them, oh, that just that just makes you even further like appreciate like the emotional impact, like just just the way that music so that just the way that music ties into the narrative like just so well. Noticing little details like that just makes you appreciate all of that even more. So yeah, like so not only is Close in a Distance like not only does it have like the footfalls motif, right? It's about like the final it's about like like the final stretch of your journey. You're there to like, go stop everything that's going on. Answers is in there too as, you know, just to like bring it back to 2.0. Further emphasize that, this is the end of a saga that we've been building up to since 2.0, since A Realm Reborn. Just we finally, like did find our answers, so to speak. And yeah, there's and yeah, just so much thought and care put into the soundtrack. Like it's honestly it's just seriously like just unbelievable sometimes. Just the lengths that Soken goes to, right? Oh, it's just so good, just so good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how he made Close at Distance. What can I say? Uh, yeah, you know, we've talked about why this is significant. Talked about Close at Distance, one of the most significant tracks out there. But no, well, if I'm gonna be doing a panel on Endwalker's music, right? On Endwalker's music, right? It, I don't think it'd be right if I completely skipped over talking about Footfalls, the song that just ties everything together. You know, Soken, as we all know, he loves using motifs, so they're everywhere. They're just everywhere in this expansion. No, you know, just for the sake of it, let's all take where is it? Let's all take another listen, just one more time. I'm really sorry about the Steam notifications. I didn't realize they played on stream. So yeah, as before, a lot going on here. I am gonna try and just kind of like rush. I'm gonna have to like rush through this a little bit here, just because I don't want us to be too short on time. So right away, like we started with like the really like melancholy guitar chords here, right? Just to like sort of further get off that feeling of like just that like melancholy feeling of just uh I'm just kind of like wandering, trying to we're trying to find a solution. We're not really sure like how to fix everything yet, but we're gonna try. We're gonna we're gonna forge ahead. And we're gonna try and find a solution to all of this. Right? And then it gradually starts picking up. We're getting more and more determined to like the progression starts kicking in. And also like very short. There's like short strings that also like start playing here, right? And, like the song starts picking up. Like we're all like kind of like on the verge of despair almost, but like we're still trying to, find a way to just fight and just like defy like just defy this fate no matter what. And just to like further emphasize that this they just like further like tie in the story since the Lord Born, just tie every expansion together. You have the Heavens with motif here. Just like the like the human choir here singing in the whatever it's called, like the Draconic language. The guitars, just like everything, the percussion, just like just like a drive point that point home that we're all united, we're all like fighting against this one threat, and we're gonna like persevere no matter what. And then we have Stronghold, of course. With a little variation to it, with that one line. Now we have the freedom line. A little variation to it. Just further drive on the determination. And here we have Torn from the Heavens, just to, tie it back into our Realm Born as well. Then we have the Charlatan theme, which is kind of like I guess you can say that this is like sort of like the height of like the hope that we have for the Warrior of Light, right? Things will be fixed. We will save the day at the end of the day, no matter what. And we're just gonna keep on rising higher and higher until we eventually solve it. Just tension, final battle and all that. And then the final chorus. Like, at this point, we know what we need to do. Like, everything is ready. Like, the path ahead is clear. We know what we need to do. Now it's just up to us to actually, go ahead and do it. That modulation. And like this modulation here, where it goes up like, a semitone or two higher. Just, further drive along, just to further, emphasize the point, further drive along the point that we're gonna stop at nothing. Like, we're gonna keep on going and forging ahead no matter what, right? Yeah, there's a sadness to that part too. And just all columns down right after that. And okay, so, wait, where's my thing? So yeah, as I said before, as I already mentioned, it starts off like very melancholy. We're fighting against impossible odds, with like the melancholy guitar chords, like the little like rock section right after that, right after the intro. The heavens were in Stormblood motifs. Like it's impossible odds, but we're all united together. We're debating giving up until the song gradually gets more hopeful, right? At the Australian theme, and especially in the final chorus, right, where like the song reaches its climax. It reaches like its peak. Where, we're hopeful, we're determined, we know what to do, and and it just also just ties in like everything that I've talked about here, like everything. Even like Garland Express, Tyson Cyberborea, Closing Distance, Ultima Thule, like even Footfalls, like everything that I've talked about here ties in to the expansion's overall message of just forging ahead, no matter what. Like not gonna let anything stop us. No matter what's in our way, we're gonna forge ahead. We're gonna get done whatever we need done, which is the just the overall message of like not only this expansion, but the overall message that like this entire story arc was, I think, was meant to dictate to us. Yeah, like just like a very quick note, like motifs are present just about everywhere, right? From mid bosses to boss themes like Zodiac, and the reason that like you hear the footfalls motif in like dungeon mid boss theme and like like dungeon final boss themes and trial themes like Zodiac's trial, like you hear like the footfalls motif just as kind of like narratively it serves like just as like a constant reminder for the player, right, of what I said before earlier, of that main message of forging ahead, right? Like you're fighting like a dungeon boss, you're fighting like like a final boss, like you're fighting like Zodiac. You hear that footfalls motif. It serves to narratively remind the player, right, of to just like you know this is a challenge, this is a tough beat, right, but you got to forge ahead no matter what. Yeah, and I think the way that motifs tie in there is just beautiful. All right, let's see, we're coming up on about 15 minutes left in the panel, so let's see if I have one more thing to talk about, so let's see if I can get this done very, very quickly. Even though I would have wanted to spend a little bit more time on it, but we're actually a little bit short on time. In the balance, just like a little extra bonus thing, right? Just because I really like this song, so I just feel like talking about it. Why not? Basically, like it's the theme of commerce, the theme of Volda, compos, and oh, before I get to talking, we're gonna listen. We're gonna take a little listen, just a brief one, because running a bit short on time.
When God's blessed this land, was treasure bestowed. City of desert sands, water and gold below. Lifeblood and rubies red, precious coins casting glow. For hands of fortune's men, that walk we may not know. And when we reach our ends, to scales we gladly go. Our fates are yours to bend, to hells and heavens flow. Under every
I
sky,
gotta skip ahead just a little bit, and just so I can get to listen to this part. But yeah, just so I can get to like talking about it now. So yeah, composition and lyrics is actually like a little bit religious in nature, right? Which I mean, it makes sense because of the nature of the fight. Because just for like a little bit of background context, you're okay. The best I can describe it is like you're basically what's the equivalent of Mount Olympus, right? You meet like the 12, you meet like all the gods of the world, and I guess like I forget like the exact story beats for it, but it eventually becomes like an entire thing where like the gods are testing your might, fighting for the fighting you for the sake of fighting you, I guess. Testing you, seeing if you're good enough. And I mean, since you are basically fighting a god, like uh It's basically a null thal worship song. Yeah, basically. It kind of has like, I don't know if hymn is the right word for it, but it does have like that, hymny kind of feeling to it, right? It's just in the sense like the just like the way the song is composed and the melody is arranged, right? Yeah. Feels like people of old Dahl would have this as a hymn. Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like what I was trying to say. And like, on top of like, that like sort of like, more religious aspect to it, right? We have the like that we have like that jarring percussion, like those grand like booming strings, like like the very like grand brass trumpets, like all that. Like we just have like all that, just like make this song like just feel like all that more, so all that more grand, all that more booming. It just has like that rhythm to it, like it makes you want to dance almost, right? I dare say it has an Arabic feel to it. Yeah, no, this actually, yeah, no, like all of Old Da, like is this song and just like all of Old Da's just instrumentation and song composition actually is like very very heavily Arabian or Middle Eastern inspired. Like see like here like the sitars, like the sitars and the drums. I forget the name of the drums. Like the name escapes me right now, but yeah. Yeah, I guess like some of you might know what I mean, right? And just to, like sort of further emphasize like the, because null follower is basically like two gods in one, right? It's twin gods. So just like further emphasize that point, we have like the first little verse here that's in. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, please. But in what I assume to be like a 3/4 time signature, right? It's kind of like waltzy, kind of dancey. It just like just kind of makes you want to dance, almost makes you want to move, kind of. It's kind of like what you play sort of at like a festival to make people dance. And I guess this could be like one god's portion, and to like emphasize the other twin of this one god. One interesting thing that this song does is around here, I believe. Around here, I think. Yeah. It transitions to like a more, I guess, 4/4 time signature. Just to, I guess, sort of put the other gods in the picture, right? As well. Yeah, very Bollywood. Yeah, I can say it's pretty Bollywood. Six eight because it was all after 6? Okay. It's all 4/4. They just play with different syncopations to mix things up? Huh. I guess that's a pretty valid way of looking at things too. Again, like, I don't really have like much of a formalized music education, so anyone who does, might know a little bit better than me, but that's kind of like how I interpret things. The Singatoya does have a background in traditional Indian music and jazz. Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, no, she did a fantastic job with this song. Absolutely. But yeah, no. Just as I said earlier, right? Oh, and I just realized I never actually switched the scene over. Whoopsies. Well, anyway. Yeah, but yeah, the percussion and strings just like drive the rhythm further, right? It makes it, like, just like very like grand and booming, very fitting for, fighting a god. As I said before, time signature shifts from, 3/4, or what could it be 6/8 from what Zantetskin said. Yeah, it's definitely not all in 4/4. Yeah. Yeah. As you said, Mael, it's not all in 4/4. And just so the players doesn't feel too comfortable, it keeps you on your toes. And narratively, also just to showcase like like the twin nature of the twin gods, right? Uh, did you cover Flow already? No, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to, Scion, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get a chance to, because as much as I would have liked to cover that as well, I'm not really sure if we're gonna have enough time to do it, because there is a lot to talk about in there. There's a lot. So unfortunately, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, and let's see. This is a section where I would have had audience picks if I had the time, but we are running up on about 6 minutes left in the panel, so I don't think that's really enough time to do a full-on analysis. So I'm just gonna move on to final statements. So overall, what can we say here? Um, Endwalker soundtrack overall, you know, how do I say, like in the first half of the story, like it tells a tale of like desperation and despair, right? Because as seen with things like Garland Express, Kataisa Cyberborea, and just all the other like cutscene songs that you hear, right? Um, you know, you can like feel the urgency, and like just like the tension and the desperation in all of those, right? Just from both from the instrumentation and just for both from the composition, right? And yeah, yeah. So while also tells a tale of desperation and despair, it's also about finding the strength and the hope to persevere through it all, despite all that despair, which I think is very clearly symbolized through songs like Flow that unfortunately I couldn't get to cover this morning. Songs like Close in the Distance, songs like Footfalls, which while they have like more melancholy aspects to them, they have like very tragic is a bit of a, I'm not sure if tragic is a strong word or not, but just sad, I guess. Sad, tragic, melancholy, yeah. Despite having like all of that, all those like undertones, the main message, like the main tone of it is one of of hope, of you know determination, of perseverance through everything that gets thrown at you, knowing what you need to get done and getting it done, no matter what happens. From the Yeah, as I said before, Soaking the sound team, especially with that little thing that I mentioned earlier, close in the distance and answers, how it's cleverly snuck in there. Soaking the sound team did an absolutely masterful job in making the player experience a wide range of emotions. Motifs are present just about everywhere as usual, and actually, someone in chat mentioned earlier about the Ishikawa interview, and that was actually part of the same interview. Part of Soken's key philosophy is not about adding more songs for the sake of adding them, just for the sake of having just like new melodies and new tunes, but rather it's more about remixing existing songs, you know taking existing melodies, making them sound different, give them a little bit of a tone shift, give them new meanings, have them tell a different kind of story, because from what I interpret, at least, it's part of the key philosophy of keeping existing ideas so that they're not forgotten, and basically giving them new meaning. Yeah, that's basically what motifs are for. Like you know a lot of games have like like different themes for different situations. Not all of them might tie in together. Maybe like one or two songs might have motifs present, right? Maybe like a couple might tie into each other. But I think Endwalker, and just Final Fantasy 14 in general, is one of the few games that actually makes a very very extensive use of motifs from what I've seen, which again is part of Soken's core philosophy here. And cashing in on the emotional impact those motifs have gained over the years. Correct. That's right. All right. And with that, I think I've pretty much said all that there is to say. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much, everybody, for for tuning into my panel this morning. Thank you all so much for staying and listening. And if ever any of you have the chance, please do check me out on YouTube for some of my, Final Fantasy 14 synth covers. I've actually done a bunch of those. If and hold on, if I can get the link here. I do not have my Twitch open. If where is it? Hold on. Give me a second, please. I'm sorry. The link, which is right over here. So yeah. How many full dotted quintuplet 16th notes can fall within a single bar of 1716? Uh, yes. But if I can just like switch over real quick. But yeah, no. Like as you can see here, like I've done a bunch of FF14 covers on YouTube just because I love this game to death. I This music has inspired me so much, and I promise they're all and I promise they're all really good. So hey, if you're interested, check out a song or two. I'd really appreciate it. And with that, I believe that concludes this panel. Thank you all. Thank you all so much once again. Wow, this is a huge turnout. Thank you all so much once again for joining. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Please enjoy the rest of LunarCon and just enjoy the rest of your day. Go out, have fun. Thank you all so much. See you all later. Bye bye.